Good evening, listeners. Tonight, we are tuning in to something special. Our dear companion, friend, and one of the travelers, Burke, has calls to make tonight. And so, late at night, after everybody and the detective have gone to bed in their rooms at the Grand View Hotel at the town of the Edge, Burke looks out to the window, standing in the once resplendent room. And he has to reassure himself, for he has some calls to make. And if you would.
Well, I like to imagine that the night started off as averages can be with the circumstances, having promised Abaya some firearm training to fire more efficiently and aim better, putting his skills to use, politely talking with everyone, and then making his way to his room where he closes the door, triple checks that's locked, and sets up his, by this point, very familiar sound dampening systems. Something he always takes with him to ensure that his privacy isn't disturbed. And so he gets ready to do what he normally does, make sure all his supplies are in order, takes out his gear, makes it look as if he's preparing to stay the night, which he usually is, but you can never be too prepared for someone expecting it to be lived in. Various books on tactics, a book about a specific sky pirate captain, which may be revealed later on, and just things to make things seem a little bit more lived in.
Of course.
Burke stands in the middle of the room, and then just a feeling of weariness and making sure to double check once again that everything is secure and no one will barge in, at least not without considerable effort and warning. Burke begins to take off the armor. First comes the cloak, ancient, faded, and as strong as ever. Folded up, dusted off, and set on the bed. The armor being able to see in its full glory since a while, although no one else but Burke can see it. If you were to look closely, you'd see that despite everything, it still seems rather new. Sure, it's been through a good bit, but it's certainly not old armor. The paint scuffed here and there from combat, but overall protected from the elements due to the coat. And here, Burke starts by taking off the helmet, revealing underneath a vestigier. Unlike what all the others think, and due to the false trail done by Anne-Reese, she, Sertia Radau, true daughter of her father and nothing else, lets her true face be shown for the first time in who knows how long. Even when she sleeps, she's worries about getting caught and usually has something to cover up. But tonight, the stress of being someone else is just too much. And so she takes the helmet, the face of Burke, and puts it on the bed. Then she starts to disrobe from her armor. It takes a bit of work, but at this point she's well practiced in doing it alone. Hisses as hermetic seals undo. Pieces of armor are gently taken off and put to the side, yet still ready to be put back on at a moment's notice if necessary. Communicator unlatched from its holster on the side and tossed onto the bed. And soon enough, the true form of Burke is fully shown. Sertia stands at still decently tall for a vestigier, but not too incredibly so. Head unadorned by any of the things that you see on a male. Scales the color of sunset. Red predominantly with a lighter underbelly. She wears a mildly scuffed military uniform. It'd be to use. designed to be used in everyday scenarios by the military, and what she was wearing when she panicked and packed up to leave what is months ago now. But she's not just any ordinary soldier. She was a colonel in the military, and very suddenly left her own post due to personal reasons. Reasons that seem to be being thrown in her face increasingly often now. She eventually undresses from that too, not even wanting the responsibility that the uniform brings, even if she's been AWOL. And she just gets in her nightwear. She goes to the bathroom, planning to just shower in the morning as she lets her exhaustion run over her. Unfamiliar, glowing red eyes stare back at her from tired gazes. Her thoughts are jumbled, and she's still trying to make sense of things. She seems to wander around aimlessly, just trying to shake the weight somehow. Sitting on the bed and causing it to creak. I'd say it's probably at this point when she's still kind of in this state when maybe her phone rings. From probably one of only 2 people who know her real number. Aside from the group, which were in fact given it after her escapades and getting lost in the city before.
Indeed. The phone rings gently on the bed. Once, twice, thrice. On the screen pops up a familiar number. And text underneath that says, Father.
Sertia stares at it. Normally she'd jump up to attention and get ready to put on her helmet to make sure that her voice is modulated, but there's no one on the other end of the line that has any secrets to be kept from them. And she's so tired. So tired of just not being herself. If anything, she doesn't even know when she was herself. It's certainly more than just a few months. Perhaps she hasn't been herself ever since she made that deal. And so she decides to just grab the phone and pick it up. No character in mind, no faking, no facade. She just picks up the phone and just tiredly answers with, "Hello, Father."
Sertia, I wasn't sure if you would actually pick up. It's been a while. Are you holding up all right?
The unsure silence is probably more than enough of an answer for him. Not because she doesn't want to answer, but because she's genuinely unsure if she'd be able to say so without lying. And one of her biggest traits and perhaps flaws is her desire for honesty one way or another.
I see. Your silence speaks volumes. Sertia, you remember when you left, the messages that I sent? I've been worried about you for so long. I heard what Henri sent, that things are getting bad up there. I hope you don't blame your father for worrying more.
I suppose I cannot. Ever since that I have myself become an adoptive mother, I can see some of your point of view, but even then, I set forth on this path long ago, and I was determined to see it to the end, but every day that passes, I can see that that's just an effort in futility.
In the end, your fate still is there, my dear daughter. You're a member of the Renal family. And this seal. I've watched you. Watched what it's done to you. That Fae did much for you, but this seal is hurting you. Now more than ever, you need to let go of it. I understand that taking that step is hard. Goodness knows that I've had to tell many children of mine that. Not the same situation, but still. Tell me, does your adopted son know where you are? What you've been doing?
I haven't had contact with him since the day I left. The last time we spoke, we got into an argument. Thinking back on it, it is, I suppose, awfully similar to the last conversation we had before I left. I care for him deeply, but he's determined to take his own path. He wants to be a pilot for experimental technology. I don't know what he's working on, but I can't say I trust the program he's become a part of.
Despite the fact that he's adopted, he still takes after his grandmother. My dear. Your father thinks for a moment. It seems that he's trying to place his words very carefully. He's a man who always has. You see a little notification pop up on the screen of the phone. He's hoping to actually have a video connection as well. It's only 32 colors, but it's enough. I would like to see your face. It's fine if you don't think you're ready.
She's silent before a moment before she replies with, just give me a moment. I have a data pad I can use.
Fine.
And so she gets up, and there's a little bit of rustling that can be heard as she gathers her gear and sets it up on the nearby nightstand. She double checks to make sure that she's decent and appropriate in her appropriate night clothes before she opens the connection fully to let him see her and, well, how she's been since, after all, the last time they talked was when she was only 20 years old and she's nearly 60 now. Not exactly old for a Veskier, but it's been nearly a lifetime, it feels.
Indeed. On the other side, the feed comes to life, and you see the unmistakable face of Father. Not your typical Veskier. He bears an almost wolf-like face, patterned with patches of deep red scales, spiky, piercing through the fur. He wears a fanciful coat, a long collar on it. He has a sullen look to his face, the reptilian eyes watching you. But once the connection is made, he smiles. It's a weary smile of his own. It's good to see your face again. I see you've been eating well.
She nods.
Listen. Every parent has to give their child a chance to spread their wings. You're not the only child of mine who has left in a huff. I've learned, after the first few, that I have to step away, give them the time, give them whatever space they need. As a member of the Renau family, you know that this time can be long. 40 years. And you still look like the old scaled Veskier that I once knew. And in the end, it is still you. Tell me, have you ever sent letters to him?
I would say that Sertia, in an effort to just to be very careful, especially as she rose up in ranks in the military, I don't think she ever did send any letters. She's basically been cut off for very long, for better or for worse. She's never asked for any help. She's never sent any letters. She's never tried to. She's tried to do everything by herself. She basically took what she had of her allowance, got a fake identity, and joined the military as, I believe, Sertia Belligris?
Yeah.
Or Bellinus, rather.
Bellinus.
Under a fake name, hiding her connection with it. Not because she's ashamed of her family, but, considering she's joining another country's military, it's probably for the best to not be connected to such a prominent member of the other nation.
Yeah. The Renau family are nothing to scoff at. 40 years. And you have an adoptive child. Tell me about him.
Don't mind me just quickly jumping to what you described of him, just to make sure. I believe it's pronounced Valente.
Valente, yes.
Valente. Well, he's an Aris. His name is Valente, and he's taken my fake last name, although he doesn't know it. He joined the military to work in R&D, and that's how he ended up becoming a test pilot. He's very intelligent, strong-willed, very handy with programming and robotics. He's not an officer like I am, but I suspect he is attempting to go that way when he can. After all the pilots tend to be officers, and if he wants to become a proper pilot for whatever they're testing, he'll likely want to go that route. He's had a rough childhood, but I think he's done well for himself, even if I do worry. I suppose one of the things is, I understand that with the steel, my emotions are stunted. And even without the mask, I know that it can be hard for me to get emotions across due to my own weaknesses. One of my fears is simply that I never showed him enough love and care. It certainly feels like he's compensated for it by being louder than I am. Not in a bad way, but emotionally just more open. Perhaps he's trying to compensate. I never intended to adopt him, but when he had nowhere to turn to and I had room in my house, I couldn't say no to someone in need. It is why I joined the military, after all.
Steadfast to your ideals until the end. It's something to respect. And this Valente. He sounds like a brave kid. Intelligent, dedicated. I would expect no less of an adoptive child of a Renau.
And I suppose just as stubborn, for better or for worse.
And who does he get that from?
There's just a hint, a ghost of a smile on her face, but it's obvious that the seal doesn't allow her to feel that emotion very fully. I can imagine that the father, she might not even need to explain the fact that, Even her weight comes from the fact that she can't really taste food. Everything looks more bland, even smells. Just everything is more muted.
He notices the slight smile, and Father Silas, he has always been an extremely, he's good at noticing these things. This seal that you've put on yourself. It's not been affecting you well. I can tell. Sertia, I miss that smile of yours.
It's done what it's needed to for the past 40 years. It's helped to keep my emotions in check. Without it, I don't think I would have been able to maintain a sense of normalcy for as long as I have.
Is it intact?
She seems to struggle a bit at the moment, and then she looks away. It's damaged.
Sertia. When a seal created by a fae is damaged, it will start to wear away. They become unsteady. They will fall apart, and they will take parts of you with them. Please, find it in you to step away from it. I understand why you took it, but this is coming from me as your father. I worry about you. Right now, from what Onris has told me about, this chaos going on in Crucible Bay, this supposed, what did you call it, New Age hounds? Going on in the Edge. Something is going on there. They don't need the flatlined Burke. They need you, Sertia. And goodness knows, your son needs you.
I would like to quickly roll a spirit check.
Go ahead.
Okay, 14. I'm trying to think. God, what would this mean? Because it's a spirit check to not, like, break down, but...
I mean, a raise isn't really going to affect it. You just don't.
Yeah, raise isn't going to affect it. I would say, though... She seems to steal herself, I'd say. And it's kind of the reflexive thing of when feeling emotions trying to leak out. She reflexively just tries to hold it in. And it's very obvious from how quickly she regains composure from any inch of wavering that this is how she has lasted 40 years when she should have had her changes, again 40 years ago. Now she extended them for this long. How the Fae took the Renown protective seal and turned it into one of emotional resistance.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. But then she just sighs and willingly, purposefully just lets herself feel a little bit more. Because this is her father, and she's so tired. And no matter how hard no matter how much willpower they have to stand against a storm, can stay there forever. And I imagine with this sort of self-admittance, it's not violent, but maybe there's just a little hint of her internal power kind of leaking out visibly across her as she just gives in just a little bit. Maybe not giving enough to, damage the seal further, but just letting herself feel something as her posture, which she had been keeping in sort of with a straight backed, ruler like military perfection, slumps a bit. It, taking on a similar pose as to what she did in the armor when breaking down after the incident with the poor victim of the disease. She puts up 2 fingers to her temple and rubs, and just lets herself sigh deeply. It's hard, but I also don't know what else I'm supposed to do, because the seal wasn't just damaged recently. The whole reason I left is because I could feel just a crack in it. And I had to leave because I started giving off ether waves that would be easily detected and, more worryingly, possibly dangerous to others. I know that I have quite a bit built up in me, and once the seal does break, it's not going to be pretty for anything nearby.
40 years of that. Sertia, when it does happen, it will be the equivalent of setting off an aether bomb. You will probably end up afflicting an area of at least a half-a-mile radius. If not more. It will be bathed in it. Heavens knows that if you do this out in the wilds, you'll have to cut yourself out of the undergrowth, because it would have wrapped around you at the end of it. You're holding in a lot. You take after your mother in that way. The video feed of Father shifts. He has the camera set up on above one of his personal terminals. It's on a rather oversized, large wooden desk. He picks up the camera for a moment and kind of tilts it to a different position so that he can kind of lean back in the chair. Your mother, she had her own spirits, her own demons to fight. She was always struggling with them. But those that she lost, those that she thought that she could save. I still remember the nights trying to console her after certain crew members might have died. Ways that she could have thought that they could have been saved. But she would put it aside, and she would continue to be that hero that people knew. But it was wearing away at her. It was why she disappeared for a while. I had to give her a chance to just let it out. Sure, it was a vacation, yes. But it was catharsis for her. You need that catharsis. Your catharsis won't be just emotional. Yours will be quite literally explosive. And I worry. Tell me. The situations you're in. Were you one of the ones that was marked, part of that news story?
She nods slowly, sighs, and lifts up her left hand to show the mark that's been, engraved in her scales.
I see. Your father leans in, and he kind of gestures for you to put the hand closer to the screen. That's done by something... Well... He leans back again. It's not Fae. In fact, I think it's something old world.
That is what we have suspected.
He kind of rubs his temples for a moment. I see. My dear, dear daughter has gotten the attention of something. And this situation with these new age hounds. Tell me about it.
She kind of draws herself up again and goes into sort of the military debrief type mindset. The only thing we know so far is that the detective has come looking for missing persons cases where we found someone who, while not currently listed on the detective's records as a missing person, likely, well, it's from somewhere that just hasn't reported it in. They were mutated, seemingly being ether contamination changing them. Their scales turned acidic. They were sent after a target, but apparently a blow to the head damaged the cybernetics that was controlling them, leaving them to go wild. Viz has retrieved the chip and has done some work to find the location. Ambergris. We'll be heading that way next. At least that's where the creature was supposed to return to, but apparently the signal for this being came from the south.
Your father starts typing on the terminal that the camera's attached. Let's see. I'm going to send one of your siblings to assist.
Do I know them?
You would know all of your siblings.
Well, I'm asking because with how long it's been, there could be
that's true.
Newer one. Yeah, because it's been 40 years.
Yeah.
You could have a young sibling who needs to get out and about. Who knows?
Your father will smile. She's, in fact, your younger sister. A new one. She's only about 26, recently transformed. It's going to be a little bit before she can get there.
Sertia nods, and then there seems to be a sort of moment of indecision on her face before she, a little bit more vulnerably than before, she grips her, legs, hand squeezing as if trying to muster up the strength, which of course is very unusual for how she's been recently, as she asks, do you remember what I would ask Mom all the time when I was a kid?
Father nods. How to be a hero.
I heard all of her stories and read the autobiographies. The stories are something I still recall. I had to leave some of the books I had behind at home when I fled. And then she kind of tries to hold herself strong, but this time, tears start to form as she thinks back to her mother's final moments, where even with the benefits of, the curse, when old age got to her mother, it didn't really waste much time. It extended her life, but could only do so much for old age. Her last words to me were that she knew I'd do her proud, but I left because I had to make sure I would. I saw those propaganda pamphlets and thought, maybe if I went over there, I could help people. And I believed it so firmly. I thought it would be so much better than hiding in the dark shadows and working the way you do. I wanted to be out in the open and proud and with a shiny uniform. Yeah, at this point, the emotions are enough that there's definitely a bit of crackling lightning softly as her emotions leak. The seal, with her letting this happen, not being able to contain all of her energy. Not a horribly dangerous amount, but still noticeable, I suppose. And in the end, all I got stuck with was politics. Doing my damnedest to fight against that General Malazar.
Bastard.
Trying to prevent him from sending the country to war. The higher rank I got, the more it felt like I lost touch with the people I was trying to help. The night I ran away from my responsibilities, it wasn't out of anything but fear. I could feel the seal crack, and I was worried about being discovered. I was worried about how my son would feel if he realized I lied to him. And I thought, foolishly, that maybe if I just left, took this armor to hide in the aether, to prevent people from realizing just how dangerous I am, that eventually it'd stabilize and I'd be able to go back to normal, but I've been gone far too long for me to be able to just get my position back or explain it as a way as anything but going AWOL. And now I'm marked, and I'm in far too deep in something that, even if I had the choice, I know we can't just walk away from. And there's a Fae out there causing horrible things to people. A demon of sickness. I got to see what firsthand how it twists people, and it's infuriating seeing something like that and hearing about a cult that worships the thing. But at the same time, I'm scared, Father. I don't know how to feel anymore, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I'm so scared of letting go. Because I haven't known what it was like to truly feel in so long. To truly taste, to smell, to feel the gentle breeze on my scales. And she sends a small glare at the helmet. I'm coming to resent Burke and what he means. It feels like a prison of my own making, and yet I cannot find the strength to break it. To admit to my companions who have been with me, who are trusting me, who I've let be lied to about my past. I don't know what to do. Should I continue to lie and hide away? Should I at the very least tell them my name? I don't...
Sertia.
It's been...
Sertia. These friends of yours, do you trust them? Are they strong? Are they reliable?
She stops and gives it a genuine moment to think. She doesn't let this decision, this thought go by hastily as she stops and eventually nods. A.K.A. is a very selfless and very competent doctor and mechanic in his own right. A pacifist who paid off bandits just so that we wouldn't kill them and to save their lives and turn them to a better path. And then there's Viz, the synthetic. She has as many secrets as I do, I feel, and yet... apologies. Sometimes the way it presents itself, I'll admit that occasionally with the more sentient synthetics, it gets difficult, I suppose, to tell what way to call them. But still, Viz is competent and curious, and I would trust Viz with many things.
Your father
Even look-
blinks for a moment at this, and he looks off to the side as if he's thinking about something. How do you spell that? Viz, is it just V-I-S or V-I-Z?
She nods. V-I-Z.
I see. Tell me about this, Viz. This is unusual.
What?
While he, of course, respects a good synthetic, and in fact has several rampant synthetics under his employ, this is a little unusual.
And Sertia definitely it's been a while, but she knows very well how her father tends to work. So him getting really interested in Viz instead of just taking her word for it. Anna has her brow lightly furrowed, but she obeys. Viz is modeled after a Meriden, with features to represent both gender facets. When I first encountered Viz, it was working as a tram conductor. And when we were attacked, it knew the fact that with our marks, the military would be after us. It has knowledge of old war technology, and I haven't been asking much about it.
It
But
has knowledge of old... How so?
it knows how to use old war for technology for its own uses, using scraps. One night we made a stay. We found a shack, and inside there was a aether-fueled lock. It opened it and found old world scraps inside just to continue working on its project. I haven't been asking due to my own secrets, but I also know the fact that, from what I've heard from the others, apparently Viz doesn't worry as much as other synthetics about technology being corrupted by aether.
I see. Perhaps it's...
Sertia is kind of trying to continue figuring out whether or not she has everything. Her face resuming that kind of blank state as she goes back into a sort of more factual mindset. We're also going to see a Fae that seems to know, which is odd to say the least. Apparently, it will be able to help us make a radio that will be hard to trace by Sungate in the military.
Ah. Narrator, I assume.
I admit I don't know much about this Fae, Father.
Well, interesting. I have a rather large index of the more important ones. If it's Narrator, tell it that your father says hello.
Sertia nods.
It and I have a bit of history. But then again, if it is Narrator, it gets around everywhere. Either way, this Viz, keep an eye on them for me. Have they displayed anything unusual? Abilities? Anything related to aether?
Aside from the seeming aether resistance compared to most synthetics, the only thing I've noticed is the fact that it seems to have a built-in electrical discharge shield or something of the sort. When we were encountering the New Age Warhound, it threw furniture at it, and Viz's shield deflected the furniture with ease. It seems to be a powerful shock.
No, that can't be possible.
Excuse me, Father, but what is going on?
This spot reminds me of something. There are old machines from the old war that might have existed to this day. Now, the ones that I am thinking of were much, much larger. In fact, were built into the megastructures themselves, typically. I doubt this Viz is one of them, but especially considering the size of this shell. But it has been many, many years. Keep a close eye on them, and if anything else unusual happens, please tell me.
Sertia nods. Should I trust them?
I don't see why not, but I still worry. After all, when it comes to an aberrant machine, their ideals have changed wildly. Who's to say how it might have affected one that may be, well, if this is from the old war, that's a lot more aether than any other aberrant construct. I would say continue to operate around them as you can, as you have, but keep an eye on them.
Sertia nods. Should I continue to maintain my secrets then? Or...
Only if you feel safe. Obviously, we do not want everybody knowing about us. That is something that I do worry about when it comes to these. Tell me, do you think that you'll be alright if I send one of your siblings?
I think if you do, I think it'd be best if I told them. The detective is currently on the tail of researching the 76 and the supposed fire I was in. He doesn't seem the type to be bought off or convinced otherwise.
Well, that cover story's going to go very quickly. I don't want you telling all the secrets yet. If you want to change your story, feel free. But I still worry. Because you've only been traveling with them for how long now?
God, how long has it been, you mean?
A couple of weeks. Like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Yeah. I'd say roughly about 2 weeks.
Don't tell them of us. Not yet. The steps that you take from there is up to you. Instead of sending your sibling, I'll send another contact. I'll scout out this place beforehand. Do you have an address?
She'll type it in and kind of, send it over as a text message.
Alright. I'll send you whatever information my contact can find. Alright. Sertia, look after yourself. Whatever happens, remember, you're still my daughter. And we haven't spoken in so very long. But all these years, I've tried to keep an eye on you. You know me, you know my network. I have connections all over. If I had known you were dealing with Malazar, I would have pulled a few strings. Gone in his way somehow. I'll slow him down.
I doubt there's much we can do, especially because the truth of the matter is, Father, whatever it is we're in, I think we're bound rather tightly. And as you said, I'll admit, She sighs and seems to struggle to put the words together, but I don't know how much longer the seal will last. It was significantly damaged in my last outburst, and I don't know what I'm going to do about it.
If you feel like it is going to break, warn them. Tell them that an old power is ready to break. Give them a story, whatever story. But try not to... try to keep your friends safe. I've made it this far with hundreds of contacts, allies. Ever since the old war, I have known thousands of names. I still remember many of their faces. People that have died hundreds of years ago now. Friends are important. Hold them close. Right now you cannot tell them everything, but tell them what makes it easier for you, alright?
She nods. I can at the very least, without lying, tell them that perhaps... I'll tell them what my son knows, I think. Perhaps it's selfish of me to admit, but I'm growing rather tired of being Burke.
That is fully understandable. I think that is a perfectly reasonable level. Perhaps you should call your son. But, hey.
You think you'd want to hear from me?
From you, of course. After all, if you've raised him... well... I always had a feeling that you would probably make a good mother yourself.
Perhaps I would have if I had all of my faculties, so to speak. But I did my best regardless.
He nods. Find some time to speak with him, alright? You know me, Sertia. My number is always open. Wherever I might be. Middle of a meeting, talking, out in the field. Whatever it is, I'm willing to pick up the phone for you.
I'll do my best then to maintain our secrets.
That's all I can ask for. I'll send a contact to meet you at Ambergris. Sadly, it won't be Onris, but I'll find somebody else.
Onris is currently busy assisting our efforts to distract Sungate, so I wouldn't want to pull him away from that.
Oh, I have no doubt about that. He sent me updates every night. Is something new. Who would have thought that being a sniper also makes you a rather good photographer? Either way, Sertia, I love you. Don't forget that.
I love you too, Father.
He nods. Stay safe out there. Remember, when you're dealing with these old war hounds, remember who's the real thing, yeah?
Sertia nods.
That's my daughter. Good night, Sertia.
Good night, Father.
And with a click, the call is disconnected.
Sertia kind of, takes a moment to breathe. And she mulls over a few of the things that she was told, the information about Viz, and also just realizing that she's really tired of being Burke. She, putting on a, facade for 3 months, and how refreshing it felt to talk to someone who knew her name for the first time in such a long period. But I think that nervously, she'd hesitate a bit, but she'd pick up the phone again and cautiously, after double checking the sound filters.
So a good thing to keep in mind is that while your father is in a different time zone, your son is in the same time zone, and it is about 2 in the morning.
Perhaps it's for the best then that she calls them perhaps during actual session.
Yes, perhaps.
After all, from the sound of things, we'll probably be revealing at least one chunk of thing about Sertia.
Indeed.
But I will say she will send at least a text,
Alright.
knowing that he probably has it on Do Not Disturb.
Yeah.
Until he can notice it. And she just kind of sends him a text of, "I'm currently safe. I love you. I'll call you when I can."
Very good.
And then she'll clean up her stuff and go to bed. Conflicted, but also a little bit relieved, I suppose, at the idea of just being able to reveal something, I guess.
Yeah.
With her father's blessing.
Yeah. And so you lay back in bed and get some well-deserved rest. Thank you for listening, dear viewers. And for whenever this appears, be it well after this time, this scene occurred shortly after the events of Session 6. Have a good night, dear listeners. We will see you again soon.